You are in for a treat today. I went back through some of my previous podcasts and I took out little clips and we spliced them together so you can see little highlights of 5 recent podcasts that I did. Now, here's why this is so important. There's a chance you haven't watched any of these podcasts yet. So this is a commercial for you to watch these podcasts. Here's why. Because I'm going out and talking to these college coaches and I am gathering all of the information that you need and that I need. You have to understand something. As a parent, these are the guys that are making the decisions on your son. The more you understand how they think, the easier this is for you to help your son. I know how they think. I've been working with these guys for 20 years. So when I sit down with them, we don't need to have a big preparation time. We do this every single day, and we're just talking about the things that matter. So here we go. Without any further ado, watch these clips and then go back with your son preferably and watch these in their entirety because they are filled with so much great information. Here we go.
And now the most trusted name in all of youth sports, here's Coach Mark.
So these 10 things that I want to talk about are leaning in parents overstepping their bounds, so to speak. We might hurt some feelings today, but it's okay. The point of these podcasts is to educate parents and players. I'm going to the coaches because I always say, you guys are the holy grail. You guys are making the decisions on these kids. You're making assumptions on parents. So let's get into it. I don't mean to build this up. Number one, I have on my list, and you already said it, it's focusing on results. So what can you say to, we're talking to parents today, how do you not focus on results?
It's a good question. I mean, and that's where, the process of becoming a good player, versus the results and trying to, how you define what success is. The very first thing that I would say when you're talking about results, okay, is just think about it this way. You don't know my batting average from high school, right? You don't know my batting average from Pony League when I was in middle school, right? You have no idea what championships, I won when I was a kid or where we placed in the 6th grade or, any of that. And quite honestly, nobody else does either except for me and maybe my parents, right? So I think it starts with that. It's just understanding that as a parent, that when it comes to individual accolades of an athlete, whether it's their velocity on the mound or their exit velocity or how many hits they get or what their batting average was or things along those lines when they're kids, it really doesn't matter, quite honestly. Like it doesn't matter. It's all about, look at it this way. We want to help kids become the best players that they can be, but they got to understand what it takes to be a good player versus trying to be a starter or trying to, earn an opportunity to get a scholarship or, any of those things. I think sometimes we get so far ahead of ourselves when it comes to those things because of all the exposure that kids get today through social media, rankings and recruitment and things along those lines. And sometimes, we forget they have to look forward to coming to the field first and foremost. They have to enjoy just playing the sport. And I think when you start putting more pressure on them when it comes to results, for no reason, we're not looking at, a 12-year-old and, if they won, best hitter or most valuable player in a 12U tournament, we could care less, right? I mean, that's not even like on our wavelength as coaches. So therefore it's really like, how important is it really?
Just for our listeners, and this is not meant to be a pitch for ECU, but I think it's important that they hear like, what is your theme here? Like, is there a foundational thing that you would say, you know, at ECU baseball? What do you feel like you stand for?
Sure. Yeah, and I think we'll get into the individual people here when we get into the recruiting segment. But I mean, really, it's going to be about hard work.
Yeah.
You know, I mean, that's really, if you look at just our track record over time, it's, you know, we want to be known as a place that is blue collar, and you're going to come here and you're going to get a great degree. Yeah. We're going to have expectations in the classroom that, you know, our guys sit in the front of the classroom, right? They interact with their professors. They introduce themselves on the first day of classes, and we want them to know that they're baseball players. Yeah. And then we want to know that, hey, with that comes responsibility, and it is their job to continue to uphold that and do their best work in the classroom. Yeah. In the community, right? As I mentioned, this community is geared around athletics, and they love baseball. Yeah. So our players, they are, for lack of a better term, they're kind of celebrities here in town, and people know who they are, right? And they're signing tons of autographs, and it's a really, really unique thing for them. But again, with that comes responsibility to do the right things, and you know, I think the same goes for the baseball. And when you show up here, we want attention to detail, we want your best effort, we want you to work, and I think the hard part sometimes as coaches is, do we have the discipline to uphold, right? We make sure that they're accountable for that on a daily basis, and sometimes that's not easy, right? When you have young guys that they don't know how to work yet. They don't know what it takes to be successful. And so it's our job as coaches to, right, on the recruiting end, make sure we're bringing in players that fit those things, which again, we'll expand upon that further. But but once they're here, this is the expectation, and you're going to be held accountable. And the sooner that you understand and adapt to those things, the smoother the transition becomes, right? But that's what we want to be known as a place that, but we're also going to guide them, and we're going to love them along the way, and we're going to continue to help them to grow and reach their potential, and that's in all areas, in the classroom, right? As people, right? In the community, and certainly with our player development on the baseball field.
Yeah.
So let's go back to another subject, all the way back to development of leadership. You know, I'm working with young kids, really young, 8, 9, 10, 11-year-old kids. And, you know, they want to play for Alabama. And my job is to help them start the journey as early as they can and learning all the things that they're going to need to be at this level. Obviously, talent, genetics, I can't coach that, right? Sure. But I'm coaching things like goal setting, managing their attitude, little athletic movements that have fun. But I haven't gotten into leadership yet. And I'm not sure what or how I'm going to do it. So do you have any advice for me on how to teach leadership?
Sure, and I don't know if it's even good advice, but I got something. Like, to me, grit is the most important thing these young people need. I think what they want to blame it on, and I don't want to call it blame it on, what they want to give credit to is talent. Like, that kid is just more talented. Justin LeBron is just super talented. Riley Quick last year, first round pitch for, man, he's just so talented. And I think we do that as humans because we know it would require more work, sacrifice, and all of that stuff than we're willing to give. So it's easier for me to just say, hey, Mark's more talented than I am. That's why he's good. That's why he's the starting shortstop in the SEC. When in reality, like, grit is where it starts. At the young age, like, they're still trying to figure themselves out. Like, leading people is probably not something they're 100% ready for yet. But what they can start to do is, like, race towards challenges, run towards difficulty, race towards stuff you're not good at, which is not human nature. We are wired for the path of least resistance. We're wired for easy. We're wired for comfortable. But if they start running towards that, they're going to fail. And if they fail, that gives them the opportunity to get back up. And then they fail again, they get back up. Angela Duckworth talks about it in her book called Grit. It's like, the way we define it here is passion and perseverance for long-term goals. So, like, what do you want? You want to play in the SEC one day? You better get real good at picking yourself up off the mat. Like, it is not strictly, hey, you got to be talented and you can't make outs. But I think what guys struggle with, they think they have to be hitting 350 to lead. They think they have to pitch at a 1 to lead. They don't. Like, they just have to go about their day-to-day business at an elite level. So to me, at a young age, what you need to be forming is, how do I go about my business on a day-to-day level, independent of results? How do I work? Like, and if those results end up being 400, that's great. If they end up doing all this stuff, that's awesome. Because you're right, there is there's a baseline of ability to play in this league that you just have to have. There's great leaders that throw 76 that just aren't going to function in this league, right? So there still is that baseline, but I think at that age, that's where it starts, is like, let's run towards challenges. Let's run towards failure. Let's sprint as hard as we can at the unknown and be very willing to crash and burn, because it's going to give you the ability to develop that grit. And people follow grit. People follow the guys that get knocked down, that are just willing to get back up. And I think those are the attributes at a young age that you start developing those as they start hitting 14, 15, 16, 17, 18, and then get to us. You're now at a position to where it's like, okay, I'm not asking you to do something I haven't been doing for the last 10 years. I've been working my tail off. I've been getting up. I've been running towards challenges. I've been trying hard things. And it's one of my favorite quotes I've ever heard from a professor of leadership.
So let me kind of put you on the spot. You guys have built a strong culture of your values and beliefs. Can you give me some ideas of what that looks like? Where does that manifest itself? Like, what are some of the values? What are some of the beliefs?
Well, first, it manifests itself everywhere. It's only in a value and belief. If it's in every part. It's not only on the baseball field. It's in the, community. It's not only in the community, it's in the classroom. But some of those values and beliefs, one, I believe in competition. I think competition is central, to the ability to win and understand what it takes to win. Competition is central to that. And I think it's one of the separators too in today's world. I think all of the players that we coach now have grown up in the select model environment. In the select model environment, you go in, you pitch your 2 innings, you get your 2 at-bats.
You're talking about like travel baseball.
Travel baseball.
Okay.
And there's great perks to that from exposure, to kind of playing with guys from all over the country. You're not only confined to guys just in your local town, but I think one of the gives in that is the components of winning and what that takes. And I think they don't not only transcend baseball, but they transcend life. So if you talk about me, why I do what I do, I think, I coach baseball because it's my vehicle to help build guys or help guys on their path to becoming, great human beings along the way and learn the values that it takes to win in life.
When you're talking about competition and you're talking about travel ball, we're going to be bouncing all over because, like you said, this touches all things. But when you're talking about competition and winning, are you zeroing in on that when you're watching kids? There's all these tools that everybody talks about, arm and exit speed, but that's almost like an intangible, wouldn't you say, when you're watching that?
Without a doubt. I mean, this is the way I look at teams. It's the way I look at players. Yeah. I think you need to be above a certain talent threshold. It's required to play at this level. But what makes the guy that's above the talent threshold improve that much more or get that much better in his time? What makes the guy, like, for an example, a guy like Nick Kurtz, who Nick Kurtz was on a high school team where there was another, high-end draft, multiple drafts on it. He went undrafted. What makes a guy like Nick Kurtz get into an environment and go from a good player to hopefully be the AL Rookie of the Year? There's a lot of components to that, but I think it's what you're talking about. It's that makeup piece, that competitive piece. Like, Nick's one of the most competitive people I've ever been around. If you're playing cards with him, he's trying to, he does nothing without trying to win. And at the end of the day, you don't control whether or not you win or not. You do control if you take the steps necessary to win. Give yourself the best chance.
The effort to win. Yeah. So a lot of people that I hear talking, they call them rules.
Yeah.
They say things like, I'm not ready for all the rules. Did you feel like they were rules, or did you feel like it was you were living for a new standard, a new meaning, a new purpose?
Yeah. And I had the game wrong.
Yeah.
It took me a while to understand. Like, I guess the rules of the world had been in my mind my whole life.
Right.
And I made a decision to accept Christ, but I didn't understand the new rules. It took a while to understand that this is basically like in the new world of coaching now that we talk about a lot. This is process over results.
Right.
And it took me a while to understand this is faith.
Yeah.
And this is grace.
Yeah. Right.
That you've been given. And I was still trying to apply the humanistic side of everything that I'd learned, I'd spent all my life doing. And that's why I call it the infant stages of being a Christian.
Yeah.
And I would say the first thing if young people are listening to this or somebody that's just first becoming a Christian, eliminate every bit of that. This is a whole different freeing. And I guess the biggest thing I would want out of this is for people to understand once you become that new creation and you've accepted Christ, you got to start thinking about faith and grace. And Bill Walsh has got a great book, 49ers football coach
Right,
would say,
right.
the score will take care of itself.
Yeah, exactly.
And understand what you have made a profession of faith with
Yeah.
and how this grace
Yeah.
has been given to you. And there's a freedom with that. And so it took a while, and I stopped keeping score. And then I understood some of these principles of what I actually was born into.
Yeah.
And that was my game changer.
It's like the weight of the world goes on your shoulders and then it's off. We know where the weight of the world is. It's not on our shoulders. Christ died on that cross for that. Hey there, it's Coach Mark, and I am so excited about you being here. And the reason is because I know if you get involved in this 52-week training course that I put together specifically for moms and dads of young athletes, I just know it's going to help you so much. You know, I've been in this space now for 20 years. I've helped over 900 players move on to the next level, but I've helped 900 sets of parents in the process. Here's what I mean. It's hard for the kids, but it's no cakewalk for the parents either. And unless you have an incredible background in high-level athletics, there might be a disconnect for you as a parent helping your son. So I want to challenge you to have the mindset that we're asking him, obviously, to be the best he can possibly be. And now I'm asking you to be the best you possibly can be. And I'm inviting you to my training course so we can help you become that. You see the power in that? We're going to work together to help your son. I really hope you embrace this concept. There are a lot of parents out there that I call them do-it-yourselfers, right? They're just winging it. They really don't know what they're doing, and they're not helping their son to the best of their ability. So let me explain this very briefly, what we're doing. I put together a 52-week training course. I'm going to meet with you live every Sunday night. Now, don't let that scare you. If you can't meet with me live in a group setting on Zoom, it's okay. You're going to have a back office. You can go in and watch the entire training. But if you can be there live with me, you're going to get a chance to interact with me and ask me questions. It's going to be fun. I'm looking forward to building a lot of new relationships with parents. But I went back through and I thought, I'm going to, one by one, each week, decide what is the most important information for you to have. And we put it all in this 52-week training course. Now, it's not even going to be just me. I've got so many great guest speakers lined up for this. I'm going to be introducing you to my network, my village of people over 20 years, people who are experts in various fields, and you're going to get to meet them all. So I just can't think of a better thing for a parent to do than to invest in themselves. It's some money, but it's not a lot of money. At least I don't think it is for what the value is. And you're going to become so much better for your son. So I hope I'm encouraging you to be a part of this. It's going to be fun. You're going to meet a lot of great people. And you're just going to become the best you can possibly be, and your son's going to benefit from that. And he deserves that, right? All right, go ahead, pre-register, get ready. We're kicking this off soon.